Welcome to the Pitchwerks podcast. I'm Scott McTaggart. Over the last 20 years, I've been a sales rep, a marketer, a manager, an executive, a consultant, and an advisor. This show is designed to give you access to my list of contacts so that you can learn more about how to present your ideas at work and succeed in your career.
Startups and salespeople, marketers and managers from the Epicast Network in Pittsburgh. It's the Pitchwerks podcast.
Because I've been through a lot in my life, unfortunately, divorce and war, and lived in 4 different countries. I've been to 44 states. I visited 120
Manager
countries.
on 6 different continents.
Yeah, I learned a lot. I observed a lot.
We got to get you to Antarctica to complete the cycle, by the way.
Sure.
Hey, everybody, it's Scott. It's Wednesday, and it's the Pitchwerks podcast. Joining me this week, a little bit of a change of pace. My friend Ray Milhem is in here, and it's one of those opportunities where you've got somebody who has managed just thousands of people over his career. He has held great leadership positions. He's currently the chief operating officer over at Lonprox, but he is mentoring just so many companies, and he's helping people with a lot of different things. I asked Ray to come in here and talk to me a little bit about how do you pick the good path? How do you know you're on the right move? This is partially inspired by when we had Ryan Green come in here, because Ryan and Ray are actually pretty similar in this sort of cool, laid back, like proper executive leadership, at least the type that I like to follow. And I thought, we could bring Ray in here and do a little bit of a deeper dive. Before we jump into that, I'm going to ask you to get into iTunes and rate and review the Pitchwerks podcast, because it helps other people to find it, and that is super important to me and Buzzy. So if you would do that, I would really appreciate it. I do hope you appreciate this. It's a special conversation between Ray and I, talking about just sort of what is the good path, how do you stay on it, how do you know that you're actually going to succeed and survive if you follow it. All right, now joining me in the studio, Mr. Ray Milhem. How are you, sir?
Good. Thank you, Scott.
No disrespect to any of the many guests we've had come through here, but I am glad that today we're going to talk a little bit about things that aren't necessarily devoted to a single product. Sure. You have an expansive, I can't get to everything, but I'm going to do my level best to get into what I think are the better nuggets, right?
Sure.
So if it's okay, I'd like to kind of tell people where you're coming from as context.
Sure, please.
I'm going to charge with correcting when I do it wrong, okay? You tell me if I say something that's wrong. Okay. So you have been charged with leadership of teams from small to hundreds over your career.
Yes.
And you've served as a C-level executive, and you've seen basically like what it's like on the front line and what it's like at the very top, and you've seen the layers in between. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
You've worked for a lot of companies that I frankly have thought that I would like to work for.
Sure.
I think of Cisco Systems and Motorola and Nokia. These are great. ANSYS
great
here,
companies
very close to our studio.
Yes.
I want to start off with just the sort of basics. Like, did you feel early on that leadership was something that you wanted to be into, or is it something you learned some other way?
Sure. Great question. Since I was born, my name it has like the English side and the Arabic side. The Arabic side, Ra'ed, means astronaut, pioneer, or leader. So since I was a kid, my parents were always like, "Oh, you're gonna be a leader. Look at him. He's for helping people. He's leading, etc." So I've always had that thing in me that I wanna be a better person. And I really, thanks to my parents, they brought us up with a great value system, a good moral compass, what's right, what's wrong, etc. And that helped me really across my whole life. In high school, I came to America when I was 17 as a student on a visa, got my engineering degree, worked hard, etc. So, I mean, in summary, what I would say, Scott, is that I feel like I have a mission. I'm on a mission on earth to, first of all, improve myself for sure, because I, like everybody else, I have my faults and issues. But I also feel like I want to help others. I want to improve my family, my friends, my system, society, etc. So I've always had that calling for be a leader, be a better person, etc.
Well, and I will say that there are a lot of people that say that. There are not a lot of them who have decided to come through my studio and maybe, try to make it a reality. So it is appreciated.
Thank you.
Obviously, I mean, there's no sort of like big payoff here. You don't have an album dropping next week that you're trying to promote.
Yeah,
sure. you just, and you and I hit it off pretty much immediately when you gave a talk a few months back where you actually did talk about bringing your moral compass to work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if everyone's always comfortable with that. And that's one of the things I'd like to explore. So I think a lot of times when you mention people's moral compass, they can easily jump to something you didn't say. For example, well, Ray, you have a different religious alignment than I do, or you have a different value system than I do.
Yeah.
However, you've held these leadership positions with publicly traded companies that are accountable to, well, just everyone.
Exactly.
Lawyers, stockholders,
shareholders,
everyone,
employees,
right?
customers. Yep.
So there obviously is a middle ground that works in large scale.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about your moral compass coming to work, what are you really talking about?
Do the right thing all the time. If I want to deliver a message, especially if there's a problem, communicate it in a respectful manner, especially to everybody, for sure, especially your staff. If I seek guidance, I am very open to asking my management, my colleagues, my staff about what do you think. I believe I'm a good listener. I mean, sometimes I'm not a good listener, but most of the time I'm a good listener. So I think for me, Scott, like when I say moral compass, it's do the right thing. Walk the walk, talk the talk. Truly, I really, really believe that. It's not just a cliche or something that I wanted to do all my life since I was a kid, especially when I started being in engineering and management and all these companies, startups and big companies. I wanted to dot every I, cross every T. I wanted to work hard. I wanted to prove to myself that I am doing the best I could. So when I go home, my conscience is clear, and I respect everybody's quote-unquote moral system, moral compass. I never, ever look at someone, male versus female, white versus black, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, honest to God. I've never, ever looked at that. I respect everybody. I look at everybody equally. And I seek advice from a lot of people, young, old, etc. But I think what happened is that even now with my company and moving forward in my career, I always believe that if I make a mistake, part of my moral compass is that I admit my mistake. As a leader, if my team does something good, I usually say it's the team's work. Thank you, guys and girls, men and women. If the team or somebody in the team messes up or screws up something, I take responsibility. I don't throw them under the bus. I learned a lot from a lot of great people in my life, different managers, leaders, men, women, all over the world. So I think, and I give my parents and my grandparents really a lot of positive support that they gave me as I was growing up. And I'm always seeking knowledge. I'm always reading. I'm always studying, traveling. I just came back from a trip overseas, and I read 3 books in 2 weeks.
And your itinerary made me tired. Just you recounting your itinerary made me a little fatigued. I can only imagine what that was like for you living it.
Yeah,
with the jets and the airports and the waits and the layovers and the luggage claim. So, to what extent do you think that your position starts from just maybe putting an impulse on hold? I ask you this because I think most people, they hear what you're saying and they intend not to lose their temper. They intend not to act in an arrogant manner, but they do it anyway because there is an impulse that pulls at them. Right? Is this a conscious thing that you are couching and doing, and how did you learn it?
Excellent question. Honestly, I never thought about it, but when I think about it, it actually I go deep down in my conscious, Scott, and I believe that I obviously, as I got older, I became more patient. Maybe when I was younger, I was impatient. Maybe when I was younger, I argued more with people in my 20s.
Very much the same with me.
Right.
No, I did.
True, honestly.
I didn't know when to fight and when to lay back.
Yeah. So I think as I got older, and especially, and as I grew in the corporate world and I grew in my personal life also, I started thinking that I gotta slow down. I have to think before I talk. I got to listen to the person who is talking to me. If you notice, like anytime I'm talking to someone, I'm really 100% focused on the person.
Yes.
That for me, that's a lot of...
Even in your seating.
Exactly.
Right? I've always noticed you turn completely toward someone who is speaking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of respect. Some of it has been due to training from big companies like Cisco, Nokia, Motorola. Some of it is my own training, reading books, attending seminars, looking up people I respect and I like, but it all comes down to, for example, instead of getting angry, I learned to calm down, as my parents used to say, or our parents, count to 10, right? Slow down.
That one is an oldie and a goodie.
Exactly, it's a global thing, So I learned to, as I got into my probably 40s and 50s, now I'm 56, I feel that I'm more calm, and as I learned from a lot of my friends in the military and the service, the 3 C's: cool, calm, collected. I mean, I could be anywhere in the world now, and I could be so calm, thank God, because there's no use of being upset, reactive, angry. And when you see angry people, it's like, man, what's going on with them?
I want to examine that. I want to slow you down on that topic because I think it's insanely useful.
Yes, please.
I'm going to say something to you, and I'm going to see whether or not you like the way I present this.
Sure. When
you have the choice to get angry, and I'm going to use the word tantrum, even though it has a color to it. When you get angry and you decide to react,
yep.
you are now faced with the choice of what to spend your fuel on.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing has already happened. You cannot make it unhappen.
Sure, yeah.
And you choose to apply even more fuel to the fire by reacting, right? Did you say you try to cultivate mentors, right? But you also say that you were young and you started to make this transition.
Yeah.
At this point in your career where you started to learn this, were you lucky enough to have mentors, or were you still trying to kind of do it on your own? And what I'm really digging at is how did they convey it to you?
So everybody's unique. Everybody's unique.
Yes.
I'm a person of faith. I believe in God. And I believe everybody, whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, that's obviously everybody's free. But I believe that everybody has a mission. They choose to turn on that light, a mission, or they choose to turn it off. But on the anger stuff and the reaction and stuff, what I believe, Scott, is that I evolved, or I started becoming a better person, better listener. So the first time I became a manager when I was at Cisco, I still remember my first management 15, 20 years ago. And my boss, David Jones, God bless him, he's a great gentleman. He's an executive now at HP. He was an amazing mentor to me, really. He told me a lot. He taught me, I was like his younger son or brother or something. It was hard because I was in the same team, and then it was called product marketing engineering at Cisco. And I was promoted in that group, and then I was asked to build a brand new team, a brand new system, the largest lab in Cisco, et cetera. And
the largest lab in Cisco.
Yes.
That's a big statement on its own.
Yes, the lab, which is let me correct myself. It's a demo lab for customers called Executive Briefing Center. It's still there in Santa Clara, California, and I'm very proud that myself and my team literally built it. It's like half a floor when customers
and multiple
come.
billions of dollars of deals have been done because of what happened in that room.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I contributed to that. I did not do everything there, obviously, but just to be humble and
It'd be a little out of
unrealistic.
character for this to be the moment when you
Right.
decide to be selfish. Like, nope,
Right,
that's all
right.
me.
Yeah, so I learned from David a lot, and I learned to be a better listener. So all these things, all these factors helped me to, first of all, manage myself and my anger and my energy, keep it a positive energy. Second, when you're calm, it reflects. Remember, we were talking about it yesterday.
Yeah.
It reflects on the other person. They become calm too. If you're angry and stressed out and all that, it reflects on the other person. You have negative energy. I walk in a room and it's like I want to have positive energy. Even if there was a negative energy, I want to have positive energy. If people create a conflict, I diffuse it. I really try to diffuse it in a very common sense manner. Sometimes people like to add conflict, you know.
Do you think because they benefit from it, or because it's just comfortable now? They've done it so much.
Combination. Unfortunately, evil or people who don't want to create problems are everywhere from now till the end.
Yeah.
So it's gonna happen. I think the way in startups, people say, "Oh, startups are better than big companies," and blah blah blah. I worked in startups and I worked in big companies. It's human beings. I mean, like you said earlier, whether I managed 20 people or I managed 1,000 people at Motorola, it's the same concept, meaning that as a leader, I have to walk the walk and talk the talk. I could not be angry and lose my temper. I really had to watch what I say and what I do. I reflected that on my senior staff. I listened to them. Once in a while, I wouldn't get angry, but I get assertive. I'm like, guys, we discussed this. We made a decision. We're going to move forward. You know, like cut the BS, you know.
Right. The date is still the date.
Yes, exactly.
The normal push and pull
Yeah.
of we promised the customer we would have something completed.
Exactly.
We promised the executive management team
Yeah.
that this would be done.
Exactly. I mean, you know this from your experience, sales, marketing,
do.
support, you know.
I do, but
Yeah. It's human nature.
I have indulged maybe my anger more than you have.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Or at least, how about this?
Yeah.
I have lived in environments where it has been acceptable
Sure.
more than you have.
Yeah.
I think that may be a more
Right,
because
right.
I still don't think your anger is necessarily non-existent. I think you are
No.
learning to channel it to the point
Yeah.
where it is a small fire that you can put out with a bucket.
Right, exactly.
As opposed to letting it spread and
Oh,
having
yeah,
it
yeah.
burn down the entire forest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm a human being. I get angry for sure, but I manage the anger. I don't get it, let it go out of control for sure, whether it's with family or friends or business, etc. I really, really learned that I watch what I say. Unlike the political climate we're in, where people say anything and to anybody, insult.
They're trying to rise above the noise level.
Yeah,
It is
I
strategic
really,
in a way.
Yeah, I hope people really rise above the noise level, and it's all about respect. See, that's the other point I wanted to mention, Scott, is that I respect myself and I respect other people. Do I get angry? For sure, I get angry. I'm a human being. I get upset and all that. But then I ignore. Like, let's say if somebody is being stupid in the street and they cut you over, I'm not gonna go. Maybe when I was in my 20s, I'll get upset and chase them and like that all. I mean, I did it.
I want to
mean,
meet that
that's
Ray just to
crazy.
see what the difference is.
I mean, I was young, and you know, but even then, I was responsible. You know, I had this moral compass is grounding. But what on the corporate world, whether it's a startup or big company because there's so many divisions and a lot of money, a lot of especially public companies, you got to be careful. I was an officer in several companies. I got to be careful what I say, what I do, the emails, the respecting my staff, male, female, etc., etc.
You're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. The other
Yeah.
party who has less power
Yeah.
will get the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly. So that's where the respect comes in. That's where I respect everybody from the janitor to the CEO. I've dealt with executives. I've dealt with royal families. I've dealt with everybody. I mean,
That's
I've
such a
dealt,
cool sentence, Ray.
I honestly did.
Buzzy,
I
have you
really
dealt
did.
with royal families? Nah, me neither.
I mean, I really did. And
I
especially.
believe you. I didn't mean
especially-
that. I'm just saying that's a really cool thing to be able to say.
So I mean, especially in Jordan and the United Arab Emirates, the royal families are really available and nice people, and you can talk to them and stuff.
I want to tell you though why I spent so much time maybe picking at the sort of impulse control and anger piece.
Yes.
And to do that, I have to kind of correct you just a little bit.
Please.
So when I said that these people are trying to rise above the noise level, what I mean is they're trying to be heard over the cacophony of other screamers. Okay, so if screaming becomes the default status.
Yeah.
In order to be heard, you have to scream more loudly, or at least that's the prevailing wisdom. Right?
Sure.
So when you were saying like, oh, I hope they rise above the noise level, I hear what you're saying, and I know I internalize your point.
Yeah.
But let me add to it that
Sure.
I don't think they're being legitimately angry. I believe it's theater in some part, maybe not 100%.
Yeah.
Histrionics for the purposes of being heard.
Yeah.
And because you
there's a lot of
it's
noise.
just like the NFL or the NHL where they see a team win and they run the same play.
Sure.
Right? So Trump gets elected and they say he was very loud behind that microphone. You should be loud behind the microphone.
Right.
That's my play.
I see. No, it's a good point. In the corporate America, in my humble experience, Scott, what happens in different companies is that it depends on the company. It depends on the business unit. It depends on the executive. I was a manager, senior manager, director, senior director, vice president, and C-level. So I rose through the ranks the last 30 plus years. I really, I know what you mean. I think sometimes because there's a lot of noise and people want to be heard, for sure. What I do, I mean, you'll be surprised how many bad leaders are out there. Unfortunately,
I would not be surprised by that. No, I don't think there's enough training.
It's a global, exactly. It's a global problem. I think part of it is the person selected to be that executive, he or she is playing politics and backstabbing, and that's why they get promoted, which is sad, really sad. Yeah.
I mean, we're really getting to what I get. I didn't say it this way, but what I was saying was incentives. The incentive is there.
In the capitalist world that we live in, it's very, very competitive, as you were just saying, Scott. So you cannot just sell your soul to the money and the capitalism. You got to have a little bit of a, I don't want to say religion, a conscious, moral compass, grounding, someone that will hold
grounding.
You. Yeah, grounding, something that will hold you to say it's not just about money. I mean,
there's something that is true, and it's true all the time.
Exactly. I mean, for sure, we all want to make money, for sure. That's part of human nature. But making money and messing up people's lives is bad.
Right.
Making money and helping people create jobs and be good people and create the next generation of leaders. That's exactly what I do. And I'm part of that 20-30%, let's say, leadership that really want to help. Every company I go to, I actually try to invest in my staff, mentor them, coach them, etc. And I encourage them to learn things outside their day-to-day stuff. Encourage them. It's okay to make mistakes. I mean, you make mistakes, you learn from your mistakes, right?
I assume that when you leave one post, you have a host of people who try to follow you to the next one. Is that accurate?
Yes, very accurate.
It's a great benefit.
Yeah.
Because part of what we're talking about here is sort of the incentives are, you need to put some work into thinking about the real incentive system rather than only looking at the short-term incentive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, maybe you can make your promotion.
Yeah.
Maybe you can make your sales goal. Maybe you can, in this small, the incentive that is always waved in front of your face is not the only one.
Sure.
And when you start thinking about, well, do I want to be a person that doesn't have to work hard to find a capable staff?
Yeah.
That's I'm speaking from experience. It's very difficult to get your staff the way, you're surrounded by people who you can rely on.
Exactly.
And this is one of the benefits that maybe you don't think about when you're thinking about having a temper tantrum in the middle of the conference room.
Right. I mean, this is where a leader, really, he or she controls himself or herself, really. Because if you lose it, nobody really likes you or respects you. And I always believed, respect me, don't fear me. Yes, it's a big thing, really.
It's a demonstration of weakness. When you lose control, it means that you've now passed your ability to manage yourself.
Exactly. And if I, like I was saying earlier, Scott, if I get upset or I want to communicate a message, I would say it my voice raises and I say it in a very assertive way. I'll say, guys, we discussed this. We agreed, we're going to move forward. That's it. I mean, because, you can't, as they say, you can't be too hard that they break you. You can't be too soft that they walk all over you. Moderation is key. But then that's also when they look up to you. That's when they start believing in you. And like you said, a lot of them follow me in different companies.
I made both mistakes. I don't mind telling you. I've made both mistakes. I've tried to be too hard.
Yeah.
And everyone came to the conclusion that what I wanted wasn't feasible.
Yeah.
So it was safely ignored.
Yes.
Or they would just go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone the other direction, which is being too soft. And actually, my experience with that was that I lost the respect of key players who were angry that I didn't see through the fraud. Someone was taking advantage, and the people who were working and really the high performers on the team felt like maybe that I wasn't as good of a leader if I couldn't sniff out the fraud that was happening in front of me.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So I would say definitely, in my humble opinion, for the leaders or potential leaders, whether startup, mid-size or large company, work hard, do the right thing, speak up. If things are legal, document it. Make sure you have witnesses. Unfortunately, sometimes
it's a good idea.
When things happen really bad, people start backstabbing, whatever, you're gonna have to have things documented.
You need to prove it, right?
And you have to prove it and stuff. Also, make sure that you surround yourself with very good people. When I say very good people, meaning people who have good conscience, people who can speak up, they're not afraid because of this or that. Do your homework. I mean, I think everybody, if you're good at what you do, technically, operationally, etc., generally speaking, you want to nurture these people to become good leaders.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have good sales and marketing people who are good leaders. Sometimes you have operational, technical people, good leaders. It doesn't matter what your background is. I think the advice is do the right thing, work hard, document things. Make sure that if it's a startup, usually it's manageable because there are few people and stuff. If it's a big corporate America, you want to make sure that you have your products are delivered on time. You have high quality products. The customers are satisfied. Do everything right. I mean, like how we teach our kids.
Just simple.
Yeah,
right. But what happens when your faith starts to wane?
Yeah.
And let's for the purposes of the question,
sure.
Let's assume this is not a person that has your certitude in religion that knows that there's someone upstairs looking out for them.
Right.
How does that person who is trying to walk the right path
Sure.
rekindle their faith that the right path is how they'll win?
Sure. Very, very good question. I call it professionalism. Forget about religion, faith, all that good stuff for a second.
Just for a second, we'll leave it on the side of the road.
Exactly. Do your job. Organize. Deliver on time. Whatever your job is, right? Now, as you go up the food chain, right, you're more responsible. And as they say, things look small from the top, right?
Yes, they do.
Because especially if it's a big company. For startup, depends on the size of the startup. Depends if you're a founder or a manager or executive in the company. Always, work hard. Do the best you can. Communicate. Surround yourself with good people. That's the thing with startups. Also attract good talent and good. When I keep saying good people, I mean like people who are not gonna lie, are not gonna cheat, are not gonna cut corners. People have conscience, whatever.
People that you align with.
Exactly.
Legitimately have alignment with.
Yeah. They have a good feel to them. They will stand by your product, by your company, etc.
They're not going to doubt the good path that you're on.
Exactly. Now, in big companies, it depends on the size too. Like some big companies from 2,000 to 30 to 50,000 global.
It starts to get unwieldy.
Exactly. For startups also, don't assume you know everything, because a startup, I mean, one day we're all young and we all learn and we grow.
You're working in one right now. You know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So for startups, everybody's wearing many hats and you're doing many things. Don't assume you know everything. I don't know anything. I mean, I keep learning and keep learning.
I don't think you get a choice in a startup though. It has to get done by someone who has some level of ability to do it.
Exactly.
Which is likely far under the requirement
Right. Whether you're sales, marketing, engineering, or sometimes all of the above.
You watch
in one
like a
person.
lot of engineers have to become salespeople because they invent a product, but they can't hire someone to go out there and hustle it.
Yeah. And you go through also examples in startups that the last year and a half, Scott, I've coached and mentored 65 startups in Pittsburgh and in the US, honest to God. And I learned a lot, and hopefully they learned a lot from me. But like, for example, if the startup is created by a great, smart men and women just out of university and PhD, that's great, but they need a lot of coaching. What I mean by that is just because you have a great PhD and you're a smart man or woman doesn't mean that you're a great leader or great boss or manager.
This is the problem throughout the entire economy is why the managers aren't well trained.
Exactly.
The assumption is that they know it already.
Exactly. So that takes a lot of training, a lot of surround yourself with good people, coaching, mentoring, studying, being humble. Also, listen, because
you
people
are
don't
a master
listen.
of this.
Yeah, thank you. And people they need to be humble and listen to everybody, learn from everybody, and not assume anything really. A lot of these things also come with age. I mean, for me, as I get older, as hopefully I'm getting more wiser, you think that. In general, as we get older, you want to be wiser.
You're exposed to more data.
Exactly.
You have more anecdotes.
Exactly.
You watch the outcomes on a longer timeline.
Exactly. Thank you. That's a beautiful way of saying it. Plus, you've had so many mistakes. Like I've made so many mistakes. And for me, I look back, I'm like, wow, that mistake made me a better person. Or that experience when I was in Kuwait, when Iraq invaded Kuwait. So that experience at that time, which is probably the first few weeks, few months, year or so, really it was a trauma. However, fast forward 5-10 years later, I look at it, I'm like, man, maybe it was meant to be. People who go through wars or divorce or destruction or flooding or earthquakes or whatever, I think it makes people a better, stronger persona because they've been through something very difficult and they survived out of it, and they moved forward. They look back and they're thankful, they're humble. They say, you know what, I could have died, could have died in the earthquake or flooding or war or whatever. So a lot of times when I'm dealing with different executives, I could see childishness. They're childish in their approach, insecurity, or I don't know how to say it. Childish, immaturity. That's the word I was looking for. Immaturity. And in my mind, I'm thinking, man, I feel like I'm 200 years old. Been there, done that.
That's how I felt when I got up this morning. Hurt my neck because I slept funny. That's the downside of it.
So, because I've been through a lot in my life, unfortunately, divorce and war and lived in 4 different countries. I've been to 44 states. I visited 120
Manager
countries.
on 6 different continents.
Yeah, I learned a lot. I observed a lot.
We got to get you to Antarctica to complete the cycle, by the way.
Sure.
You got to go manage some penguins for me down at the South Pole.
I'd love to. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a lot of examples that go through that. I call it lessons learned, really. You can tell when people been through trauma, if they survived through it or difficulty, he or she will become hopefully better people. It's not easy because, it shakes you up. But, if you have a strong personality, if you have good moral support, if you have, whatever it makes you stronger, keeps you grounded, moves you forward, have a mission in life. Every day I wake up, I'm like, okay, I have this I want to do. I keep moving forward. I learned from the past, but I look for the future,
Well, I appreciate you sharing your insights with the audience.
Sure.
We're going to make sure that, we at least give them a few different tricks that they didn't have before. Thank you for joining us, Ray Milhem.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Scott.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, that's all the time we've got. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to Ray for coming in and just sharing his insights. I have this final thought about how there's no time for friction and chaos when you have 1,200 employees. I keep thinking about that number that he threw at us and just how exhausting it'd be to throw a temper tantrum every time one of those 1,200 employees did something wrong. If only just for that, it's an interesting piece of information. It's like, how do you just keep your powder dry and avoid getting pulled the wrong direction by your various impulses. I think that's a key to him climbing the ladder so many times in so many different places.
The Pitchwerks podcast comes to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a production of the Epicast Network and McTaggart, LLC. Engineering and production by Buzzy Torek and Nick Miller. For more information, show feedback, and ad sales, visit pitchwerks.com. pitchwerks.com. On social media, find and follow the show on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram using that same brand name, pitchwerks.